Rapunzel was stolen as a baby and raised in a tower by someone who called herself her mother. She was taught that the world was dangerous, that freedom was foolish, and that fear was love. But every year on her birthday, glowing lights filled the sky, and they whispered a truth Rapunzel was never meant to hear. This is the story of how Rapunzel escaped her prison, uncovered a lie, and found her way back to who she truly was. Long ago, in a peaceful kingdom bathed in warm golden sunlight, there existed a magical flower unlike any other. This flower had grown from a single drop of sunlight that had fallen from the sky, and within its glowing petals lived the power to heal illness, restore life, and preserve youth. For many years the flower remained hidden, known only to a woman named Godhel. Instead of sharing its gift with the world, she used its magic selfishly to keep herself young, visiting it in secret and guarding it jealously. When the queen of the kingdom fell dangerously ill, the people searched desperately for a cure and finally discovered the golden flower. They used it to save the queen's life, and soon afterward, she gave birth to a baby girl whose hair glowed with the same warm golden light. Realizing that the flower's magic now lived within the child, Godhel made a cruel and selfish decision. She stole the baby from the palace and hid her away in a tall tower deep within the forest. She named the child Rapunzel and raised her in isolation, telling her that the outside world was dangerous, unkind, and filled with people who would only hurt her. As Rapunzel grew, she became a gentle, intelligent, and curious young woman. Her days were filled with quiet activities such as painting, reading, and singing, yet her heart always felt restless. She sensed that her life was meant to be larger than the walls that surrounded her. Every year on her birthday, she noticed something that filled her with wonder: thousands of glowing lanterns floating into the night sky from a distant kingdom. Although she did not know what they were or why they appeared, she felt deeply that they were connected to her in some way, as if they were calling out to her across the darkness. Rapunzel often asked Godhel about the lights, but Godhel always dismissed her questions and warned her never to leave the tower. These warnings filled Rapunzel with fear, yet they also filled her with longing. She felt trapped between her desire for freedom and her fear of the unknown. This inner struggle became the quiet sadness of her life. One day, a young man named Flynn accidentally stumbled upon Rapunzel's tower while trying to escape from the guards of the kingdom. When Rapunzel first saw him, she was frightened, for she had never met a stranger before. Yet as she watched him speak and move, she sensed that he was not cruel or dangerous. He was imperfect and sometimes foolish, but he was also kind, honest, and gentle. For the first time in her life, Rapunzel felt seen by someone who did not wish to control her. With great courage, Rapunzel asked Flynn to take her to see the floating lanterns. This request required her to leave the only home she had ever known, and it filled her with fear and guilt. Still, her desire for truth and freedom was stronger than her fear. As they traveled together, Rapunzel experienced the world for the first time. She saw sunlight filtering through trees, rivers flowing freely, and people laughing and sharing kindness with one another. Each new experience filled her heart with joy, but also with sadness for the years she had lost. During their journey, a quiet romance began to grow between Rapunzel and Flynn. It was not loud or dramatic, but gentle and sincere. They shared laughter, fears, and dreams. Rapunzel learned about Flynn's past and the loneliness that had shaped him, and Flynn learned about Rapunzel's longing for freedom and truth. They began to care deeply for one another, not because of who they were supposed to be, but because of who they truly were. When Rapunzel finally reached the kingdom and saw the lanterns rise into the night sky, her heart was overwhelmed with emotion. The lights were beautiful, but more than that, they felt familiar. She felt as though she had returned to a place she had never known yet had always belonged to. In that moment, Rapunzel realized that she was the lost princess of the kingdom and that her life had been shaped by a terrible lie. However, Gothel followed Rapunzel and used fear and manipulation to convince her to return to the tower. Confused, guilty, and frightened, Rapunzel believed her and allowed herself to be taken back. Alone once more, Rapunzel reflected on everything she had seen and felt. She finally understood that Gothel's love had never truly been love, but control, and that real love does not imprison or silence another person. Flynn returned to rescue Rapunzel, proving through his actions that his feelings for her were genuine and selfless. Though Gothel tried to stop them, Rapunzel and Flynn were finally freed from her control. Rapunzel returned to the kingdom and was reunited with her parents, who welcomed her home with overwhelming joy and love. Rapunzel's journey is a story of courage, love, and self-discovery. It teaches that freedom is essential for happiness, that love must be kind and respectful, and that listening to one's heart can lead to truth. Her story reminds us that even after years of darkness, it is always possible to step into the light and find both who we are and where we belong.